Hey, welcome to another lure build. This is something a bit different. This is a lure I've already built, a little mouse a few years ago, and I built a fair few of them for different people along the way. It's a little wake mouse, so it sits on top of the water, floats. It's got a nice little swim action, and I thought I'd have another go because I'm sitting here on a winter's day here in Australia, so I think I'm going to try and upgrade this mouse a little bit. I've had another go previously, and I just want to try and make it even just a bit better. This was a through wire, so one wire, just in case a bigger cod or bass, probably cod though, grabbed it. I made sure that it was a through wire all the way through, so no screwing. It's a one piece sort of harnessed up piece of wire, and you can see it's screwed, twisted there at the back. Caught a few cod on it, had a bit of fun. What I did notice is one of the other lures that I made, not quite this one because I tried to firm them up a little bit with super glue, but the way I designed these ears were really interesting because the ears were great because they kept the lure running very straight, because they acted sort of as a keel in the water. But the problem was, being so protruding, these ears here, they snapped off. Yeah, so when I had poor casting right into snags, and I had one of them, its ear sort of came off. It didn't affect the action, but then again, it could penetrate the timber if I kept fishing with it and didn't reseal the wood. So not a great idea to have the ears protruding so much, such detailed sort of carving with sort of a thin amount. So we're going to go for an upgrade. I've just done a bit of a drawing here of the original mouse, and we're going to try and see what we can do to upgrade it similarly. I also had the ballast in here. You can see sort of where it's still there, 1, 2, 3 bits of lead holes that were put in. I want to try and hide them this time by having the lead come in from here and pour it down here and get the weight right before, and the same with here. So go from both angles to leave this, and I don't have to patch it. This needed a bit of adjustment. This was sort of the one I made for me to get the weight right, so that's why it sort of looks a little bit more untidy than normal. All right, let's see what we can do. So I want to try and, I was very happy with the size, I was very happy with the shape, I was happy with the action. I just wasn't happy with these protruding ears. So I'm going to try and omit some of this stuff by keeping the normal design. And we'll even leave the outline there a bit of the ears, but we want to try and bring the ears back so they don't stick out as much. Maybe have to adjust the head a little bit too on the new one. Come down like that, so we have less opportunity for the ear to come out. The other one's a bit more of a cartoon style ear. This one I don't think it's going to make a difference as far as the look goes, except it's got like a little bit of a hunchback over here, which I don't mind either because it's still got a fair bit of volume back here, so we might bring that down slightly so it's just less hump, which is going to be easy to do. So now we have just a smaller bit of ear protruding. Probably bring that down even more to that original. They do only have small ears, mice. It's just, I like to emphasize the mouse look on it. But if we go like that, probably looking less cartoony than the original, but you can see the design's improved just slightly. All right, let's get to it. Okay, we're looking at the difference here. Same sort of shape, same sort of volume in the lure. Just that ear has been redesigned, and of course we'll do the lead a little bit differently. That'll work out some timber. Okay, so I'm running pretty low on timber. I want to use this jelly tong for this, so I'll just go to the scrap box actually and see what we've got here. There's a piece of, I'm pretty sure, yep, that looks like cedar, piece of cedar, some offcuts of jelly tong. Not quite going to cut it. This bit I think is the go. So if we grab that, let's see, it's upside down, but that's alright. It's just going to fit. Just going to fit. It's about the right width. Let's just push his ear down a bit. Yep, I reckon this is the one. Some people like to glue their templates on. I don't bother. I just trace them out with a pencil. That way you get to reuse your template and just keep it in a box or somewhere else in case you want to use it. And then sometimes I'll even get the offcut and keep that as a template. Like if you take a bit off the side, it always comes in handy. Pretty good using this smaller piece too. It's going to help keep that ear down even further. Yeah, so got a rough cutout. That's enough for the bandsaw. Let's get over there. After sanding and cutting it out a little bit, I'm just putting in the center line again. Gives me a good point to go from where to run this lure symmetrically, and ensuring that I've got the similar to the same profile as my original mouse that I'm trying to pick up, but yet is hooked on my book. But yep, just sizing it up. You can do all this stuff by eye. It doesn't have to be millimeter perfect at this stage until we get to sort of the ender section. So just to use the bandsaw or a knife to cut these bits off and sharpen up the front and the back to give it the right shape. Marking up where the joint's going to go, try and get in the same sort of position, and then the shaping of the rear of the mouse to try and keep that pretty exact shape of the original one that we've got. So now it's time to mark it out, cut it up, and we're ready to go. Okay, let's do that off camera, a little bit offside. I'm going to go fix that up. Okay, yeah, still got a bit of an outline where that ear is. Not doing too badly. Okay, so we want this cut about there. I'm going to put that in now while it's still square. Let's cut the joint to the center one, redo that. Now the fun part starts. This has got to be my favorite part of lure making, and that's carving the shape and creating the shape. Bringing the timber to life into the character that you're forming is really what I love about creating my own lures, because you can use whatever skills you've learned along the way to try and carve out a creature that didn't exist before but exists now because
your creative process has been put into the works. And around creativity, especially being able to create something that is unique. You know, there's only one of these mouse in the world right now, and it's also functional. You know, it's not art for art's sake in a sense where it's going to be hung on a wall, but it's a functional piece of art that'll catch a fish on and be able to refine and maybe do mouse 3.0 eventually as well.
Okay, now I'm going to make it easier to do the fur. Just got my file and making little fur divots. Try and go different directions. Try and make it look as natural as I can. Pretty much got most of the carving done. Got the fur all over it now. Time takes a lot of time, but got there in the end. So you can see the profile is looking very different to my original. Sort of more cartoon ears, as we said earlier, problem chipping off, down to a more compact. Now I'm going to work on the joint, get some joint organized and putting the ballast in the bottom here through the inside like we explained earlier. Let's see how we go. What I'm going to do with this back end, I'm going to go all the way through to have this sort of solid wire. The way I do that is I try and go as straight as I can, and I go from this side too, straight as I can. It wasn't very straight. Drilled the hole for there. It's going to work. Now I want to have the toe point nice and low. You can see on this one, for a wake bait, you need to have your toe point quite low and close as you can to the bib. Yeah, so you want it nice and low. If you have it up here, it's not going to wake properly. It's going to tilt like this. You want it down low so it's pulling the water with this surface area sort of up like that. Otherwise, it's going to dive down, and you won't get that on the top of the surface wake action. Okay, so we want our toe point to be as low as possible, so we're going to go right under the nose here. Just marking it with my stubby old 1940s, I think it's from. It's an old ice pick actually I picked up from an old fisher, actually in his fishing basket. The other couple of weeks ago I managed to stab all the way through my finger here. It actually went all the way in and then came out underneath here. So be careful, be careful. You might not think you're putting much pressure, and as soon as you slip off, I like to put a little pilot hole. Just helps with the drilling, especially in the softer jelly tongue timber. There we go. Let's make up some hardware for it. Oh, and I'll drill the hole down there for the ballast. So this is the experimental part. I'm putting internal weight in here as ballast. Just marking up exactly where I want as center as possible, and same for the other side. Make sure I've got the right side, the back's not upside down. There we go, done that before. I've accidentally put it on backwards, but it's going to leave enough room to drill, increase the hole if I have to. Again with the drill. I want to go pretty far back. Obviously, not will go all the way in. Same with the front. That's pretty far in, about into there. That's probably plenty of ballast. It'll make it weight down in the water just that little bit. So I'll put lead in here, cover the holes, sand it up. But before we do that, we'll make the hardware. Okay, I'm using for this one, it's what is it? 1.29 millimeter stainless steel wire. Find this stuff's pretty good. Always got a little set of bolt cutters, just a cheap set. That way you're not ruining the good pliers. Cheap set of medium bolt cutters to cut the stainless. Straighten it out as much as I can. I'm gonna make some lengths. Place is looking pretty trashy, hey? Here we go. Cut to the size I'm going to need. No need to measure it. Pretty used to what I'm going to need there. The back end a little bit different. What I'm going to do is put a loop on the end. Yeah, like an eye on the end of this, and I do that pretty easily. I don't mess around with jigs and things like that for these one-off lures. I generally just go by eye and hand. So for here I want to turn that around. I like to get my pliers, which usually I'd have pre-prepared, but crimp it so you give yourself a nice little loop like that. And then the way I do it, which you've probably seen in the last video if you've watched it, is to get my vice grips. Again, just a small set of vice grips. I like to pinch down on the wire, on the stainless. And then I like to get my other cordless I've got sitting here. That's a hook. And it's actually the diameter that I want the ring hole to be. So, bit of pressure. All right, that's heaps. So now you can see you've got a nice ring, still attached to the stainless. I'm going to nip that little tag end off, just so it goes into the lure better. Okay, essentially that's it. So I'm going to put this in through here. Yep. And this goes screwed into the hole. There's just a bit still left on the end of this that needs to come off. It'll make it easier. Get our pliers, and what we're going to do is actually screw that in. So you've not only is it screwed in like that and sitting in there, what we're going to do is drop some epoxy in there in a second anyway. Yeah, we're going to put some epoxy in, and then I'm going to leave this like this just for now. and I'll show you what I'm going to do with this at the end. It's a nice little handle to have when I'm pouring the lead inside this hole later. Okay, so we know this fits. Just going to back it out, and it comes like that. And now I'm actually going to do the same with a smaller piece for a screw eye down the other end. Again, I like to just fold it over like that. Everyone's got their own way, but this is the quickest way for me. Not messing around with vices and other bits and pieces. I find this pretty easy. Stainless steel wire is pretty good to work with. Okay, I run the drill backwards, so then it screws in forwards. Or screws in normally anyway. Can come off. I can trim that up with my get a bit of length on it. And that is ready for a bottom hook hanger. So that's going to go right about there. Oh, you can't see. Right about there. Bottom hook hanger. I might just make a mark. Okay, so now we're actually going to get another one of these made up, but this time we're going to include it into this, and this is going to be the joint mechanism for the mid joint, just like this one. Just like that one. Okay, so the way I do that, same again. Make sure I've got all my gear here. Get my pliers, push down, as per usual. Bench is a mess. Squeeze. Just kind of like that. Now, before you do the next job, like I would normally do, the vice grips, I put my loop, my ring, into the other end, so like that. Then I find my vice grips, chuck the vice grips on. Here we go. I like to make sure it's down the back. There we go. All right, again, gonna screw that up, get that off. So now we've got what we needed. You can see one ring is inside the other, really strong connection. So now if I put that back in the lure, it's not a bait, it's a lure. In Australia, bait is something we put on our hook, I reckon. This is my old man opinion. And a lure is something we trick a fish with. Get a bit frustrated when people try and turn everything into baits because they see it on YouTube or whatever. American, this bait, that bait. We make lures here in Australia, in my opinion. Again, doesn't really matter. I'm an old person, so I getting to the point where I don't really care for that sort of stuff. There you go. That was good. And then we go in, screw this one in here best we can, and I might just get some pliers to nip that up. Lots of sets of pliers are handy, especially these small ones, because then I can actually get in there instead of trying to get my fat fingers in there. And you can see this one has got quite a distance. Yeah, it's pretty. You see this one's a nice tight joint, and the reason is I've recessed. If I can get the camera to look at it, I've recessed it in there a bit and in there a bit, and that's what we're going to do next. We're going to take this off again, and we're going to make a little recess for the rings to sit into. It also adds to the stability once you epoxy it all in with some glue. So that's what we're at the moment. I might do that now. I'll take it all apart and we'll recess it in. Okay, I'm going to use my Dremel for this. This is just a little handheld version of the Dremel, and this is a bit that comes in really handy. This one right here. If you get one bit and you pay good money for it, for a genuine one, that's the bit I'd go for. It does so many different things, and it's going to do a neat job on this recess for the ring wire that we need to do right now. Alright, here we go. So this is going to be the horizontal, the other one's going to be the vertical, so start this up. Okay, and that's pretty much the diameter of it. So when I put this one back in, you'll see diameter of the wires, the thickness of the Dremel bit. Maybe the Dremel bit's just a little bit thicker, but once I get it in, you can see that that's significantly recessed in there better. And again, I'm going to epoxy that in carefully when we're ready to put it all together. Going to do the same to this side. So if this is the horizontal, this is going to be the vertical. Let's hit it. There we go. See how that sits in. Hopefully you'll see the joint close right up. Make sure I'm not putting it on upside down again in the end. That's upside down. One more turn, I reckon we'll get out of it. Yep, there we go. And from here, it's just a little slight push in. Again, get my little tiny pliers. Do some pushing. See, I'm just pushing it in. I'm going to pull this apart later anyway. Even if I can use its own self to push it in. There we go. Again, nice and loose still, but it's a lot closer than it was. A lot closer. Probably the same distance now as the original. Alright, onto this hook hanger here. Again, we've already got the hook hanger made. Just going to mark it with the trusty ice pick. There's a hole there. Now, I felt something interesting in this hole. I actually felt my hole going through from here too. One tip in lure making, particularly if you're going to do through wires and things like that, is find yourself some longer drill bits. It's especially in the smaller diameters, obviously, for pushing wire through. These are great to drill those longer runs through lures, to make sure that you've got the length in your drill bit. So I've got one of those on now and I don't need it. It's all the opposite. I only need a small. I've got to make sure I don't drill all the way through, but I want to go up to sort of just below that ear mark, so it's about that. Again, a bit of a risk taker, so I'll just wing it. All right.
leads in, joints in, just looking to see whether I like the fit and I like the distance of the joint. That's really going to dictate how much it wobbles around in the water. You see that through wire still coming out. I have left room for a tail to squeeze in. I'll do a little leather tail, little leather strip. Time to seal the timber.
Okay, we're up to the bib time. Found this little offcut of aluminium I had, and this is going to go much like our other rat or mouse in there. The only thing, I'm going to cut this lip or bib so it's narrower through here, and it's not going to be a complete slit like that one. It's just going to be something that's hidden and tucked in there, and then we'll work out the angle as well. So it's all sealed, ready for the bib. Had to make a key, obviously, for the hook tie, line tie to go through. Straight in there. This will be epoxied in, but I want to test it first. So, there we go. Updated version. Pretty heavy float. Once I like how low it sits for top water, but once I get a bit of clear coat on this, it's going to have a bit more weight. Should be okay. I don't mind how the line ties just under the water, because when you pull it, it's going to pop up obviously just a bit.
To the paint, most of this mouse is going to be based on the brown colour. So that sepia brown I've got. I'm using acrylics today just because I've got a whole bunch of them, and you can see there's some transparent black that I put in there to darken it up as well. Painting process can be tedious. You can go as far as your creative heart desires with as many colours and variations and whatever you want to do. So this is what I chose to do on the day, to colour up this mouse into a natural sort of looking colour. Once that was done, epoxied, so I gave it a couple coats of epoxy, glued in that bib and glued in all the components, and twisted the wire at the back to ensure that we've got a mouse that has a through wire pretty much the whole way through it. There is a line tie holding both the toe point and the hook hanger at the front.
There we go. Let's see if the improved mouse can match it with the original. Big ears.
Can't be disappointed with the action. It's doing all the things it needs to do. It's got a nice float, very buoyant. I'm going to be able to work this through the timber pretty easily. Tight edges up against the edges. Very mouse-like. When I've seen mice and rats swimming, they don't make all that much of a commotion. It's got that really little wake presence now. So I think that this is going to be an absolute winner. Thanks for following along. Hopefully you learned something. If not, that's okay too. Just enjoy the art of creating timber lures and appreciating them, because if you're going to catch cool fish, you may as well catch it on cool stuff. That's my opinion. Yep, good one.